Good afternoon, YouTube. Warbles on a lot here. About to go for a ride to town to take the new electronic speed controller for its first run on the highway. You see how that says Sting, and it's got nothing but a little I am electrical sign there, and it's got 3 of these coming down here on each side, whereas the one that blew up looked a lot like that one. And as I explained in yesterday's video, this is not my first test ride with a new speed controller. I already know that this one's law abiding and only goes at 46 kilometres an hour. I can't flout the law at 49, but it uses less power to cruise at 45, in the order of like 35 watt hours per kilometre instead of 45 watt hours per kilometre, which, if I can believe the instruments on the bike, would mean 6% less top speed and about 20%, 25% less current, according to the computer in the screen's display. So I'm hoping to get at least a 12% increase in range, and yeah, that would mean I could confidently go out 35 kilometres, come back 35 kilometres, and have maybe 25% of a battery, which currently I can do that for a 60 kilometre ride. So roundabouts and swings, eh? We shall see what we shall see. The other things, headlight shines brighter, I think. It now spins the wheel on dirt. If you give it a bit too much twist, it tries to lift the nose wheel on bitumen if you give it a bit too much twist. And the regenerative braking is a whole lot more noticeable, and I'm hoping more effective, which might also increase the range. We shall see what we shall see. Only way to find out is to try it. I don't know. Halfway to the bitumen before I remember to turn the camera on. You get that. I don't ride with the camera every time. I just caught myself commenting that I'm seeing 30 kilometres an hour in economy mode, going slightly downhill, but you've still got acceleration from the motor up to 30. I think it used to be 35. (23, 24) rolling downhill before you pick up any extra throttle response. On the flat now, 28, 29. Doesn't quite get to 30. 29 kilometres an hour in economy mode. Takes a bit of getting used to being a totally, completely law-abiding motorcyclist. I must admit, not so much here on the secondary roads. But there you go, that's 30 kilometres an hour in economy mode, 15 watt hours per kilometre. I suspect you might go a bloody long way at that speed. Sport. (46). At the moment it's saying only 18 watt hours per kilometre. rising through 20 watt hours per kilometre. There's a bit of a lag. .23 watt hours per kilometre here at the bottom of the hill. Now I used to go up this here hill at 47 kilometres an hour on a full battery. Reading 24 watt hours per kilometre down to 45. .27 watt hours per kilometre at 45. It's certainly not slowing down going up at 31 watt hours per kilometre. Down to 44 at 33 watt hours per kilometre. .34 watt hours per kilometre, the top of the hill 44 kilometres an hour. So I've lost 3 kilometres an hour, maybe 4 coming up that hill. And we're now showing 36 watt hours per kilometre, dropping more or less down to 35. This electronic speed controller is quieter than the other one. It hasn't got a sort of once per 100 revolutions thrum noise to it. No electronic braking because we've arrived here at 99% of the battery. We got a car coming. Lightning acceleration up to 43 kilometres an hour, and then 46 is all you get. I'll get used to it, I suppose. Right, so welcome to episode 15 of the Trumpocalypse Chronicles. Must be nearly a month since I put one of them in the can. Car and a truck in this, I might let them go past first. There we go, see, spun the bloody back wheel, getting on and there's a fucking car on. Didn't see that, grey car on a grey road. I preferred getting through this at 49 or 50 kilometres an hour because it's slightly downhill. I wonder why the hell they think it's safer to let these little low-powered motorbikes run around at half the speed of the traffic when the frame and the suspension in this case is capable of 75 k's. And the new ones, the replacements for this, are capable of bloody 95. Like you could blend in a lot smoother at 95 than you do at 49, or 46 rather. But it certainly is smoother and quieter. And 97% battery remaining getting down here to Yarraford, that's not bad. especially since this battery was charged 3 days ago. And it's on its 96th charge-discharge cycle, maybe 94th. Anyway, back to the Trumpocalypse Chronicle, number 15, as I was saying before I had shit frightened out of me. Perhaps 3 days ago, I watched a clip of Stephen Miller, the apparent motivational brains behind Trump's fascist mechanism for dismantling American democracy. And what he had to say was that he was going to sit and watch what the American federal courts did, and it basically, depending on how they behaved and what decisions they handed down, they were looking at ways to abolish the writ of habeas corpus. Now, habeas corpus is the idea that the government is not permitted to arrest or detain or sentence or imprison anybody for any accusation without bringing them into a courtroom and putting them in front of a judge, an independent judge who is not part of the government, not part of the police. And it dates back to sometime in the 1300s, I think. I'm pretty sure it's a 14th century thing that was lifted holus bolus from Great Britain to the Virginia colonies, which then became the United States of America. Like, if you get rid of habeas corpus, anybody can be arrested, detained, sentenced, imprisoned, executed, deported at any time by any bureaucrat filling in a ticker box, survey form or questionnaire. The Kingdom of Qatar has just announced that it's given Trumpy a $400 million aeroplane because the one that the US population has provided him for Air Force One's just not quite palatial enough, and he won't be able to get the new one finished until 2029 because Boeing's on a go slow. They've been deporting American-born children, kids with cancer, they've arrested a couple of judges, they've arrested Mayor of Newark, I think it was, for daring to make a protest. They manhandled and harassed, I don't know whether they arrested her and charged her yet, an American congresswoman, and I think there were 2 or 3 people at that particular protest. Anybody who thought that the first 14 Trumpocalypse Chronicles was me exaggerating, horribilising, pessimising, going over the top, saying nasty things about the dear Trump maladministration, yeah, everybody who thought like that was wrong. There are people who've been deported and stuck in bloody detention, sent out of the country. I don't know whether any of them are actually in jail in San Salvador for protesting or writing in support of Palestinian sympathisers who were protesting in the US against the doings of Israel in the last almost 2 years, since the people in the Gaza concentration camp rose up and flew bloody motorised hang gliders, among other vehicles, out into what they see as their occupied homeland and started wreaking havoc on the people who were occupying it. I can't say I approve of rioting in America because of something that happened in the Mediterranean, but there are people who carry on like that. if I had my way, you wouldn't be permitted to conduct any political demonstration in a third country when you run away from somewhere because you don't like the conditions back where you come from. But of course that means it would be impossible for genuine refugees to raise their concerns about conditions in the homeland they run away from. The problem is, what do you do when you're in Australia and you watch a whole lot of businesses in the town which have been purchased recently, so within the last 10 years, by people who have migrated to Australia from other places which are now currently bombing the living shit out of each other, and in the case of which I am thinking, their homelands are nuclear armed and they're currently merely sending cruise missiles and drones and flying human crewed air attacks and conducting artillery strikes across each other's borders. Okay, so 90% battery remaining and 37, 38 watt hours per kilometre. I'd say normally we'd be at about 42, 45 watt hours per kilometre at this point. And yeah, we might be at 89% power perhaps. So sort of objectively, yeah, we're on 89% now. Objectively, it's using a bit less power as it goes a little bit slower. And can't fault the manufacturer for supplying a bike that's supposed to be regulated to a particular speed, and it is actually regulated at that speed. This will be the test. I'm holding full power and I used to see maybe 50, 51 down here. "46, 46, 46, 46 all the way." I don't know that I'm going to see anything over 46 again on this unless I find a much steeper hill. Meanwhile, the Supreme Court of the United States has said that it's perfectly okay for the Department of Defence to act on their new bill getting rid of any transsexuals who might be in the military. And I don't know how many of them there are. Might be 1,700, might be more. I don't know why so many MAGA supporters seem to be so terribly bloody threatened by the idea of people who believe they were born in a body that's inappropriate for the sexual orientation, polarity that they feel their mind should be. I just don't see why it should have any bearing. They're not going to throw the homosexuals or the same-sex attracted out. Why throw out the transsexuals or the transgenders? If the theory is that they reckon transgender people are excessively obsessed with their own sexuality, I suppose they'd have to logically extend that to say there's no demonstration of heterosexual attraction, polarity, fantasies permitted in the military either. So they're going through the bloody Air Force Museum and the Smithsonian Institution and the various military museums, literally deleting all reference to anybody who might have won a Congressional Medal of Honor if they got black skin or brown skin. It's Orwellian rewriting of history and deleting of anything that, any cases where the facts run counter to the ideology of the half-wit doing the deleting. Personally, I'm disgusted by the phenomenon, but you know, Ray Bradbury did forecasted in Fahrenheit 451, when it was the American firemen who were running around burning books. And at this point, faced with the prospect of they're apparently going to put battle tanks on rubber-tired tractor trailers, trucks, semi-trailers, B-doubles, whatever you want to call them, in order that the tanks can participate in the parade to bring more glory and honour on the grateful name of Trumpy on the 14th of June on what they call Army Day, the 250th anniversary of the raising of the United States Army of Independence. Now what could sort of go wrong with that, you know, like apart from the chain breaking and the tank rolling off the low loader, tearing up the bitumen? I suppose there'd be no chance that any of the tank crews might bring along some live rounds to fire a one-gun salute at the reviewing platform. That would be too terrible a prospect to contemplate, would it not? Whether it printed on the camera, but he got a radar signature telling him he was going too fast. That never happens to me. This is a dicey little bit of pavement. Yes, a very law-abiding little scooter it is. Some people are excessively polite. That person should have just kept on going. Anyway, it's 6 months since I went to see the oncologist. That's meant I have to go and get a CAT scan. That means I have to go and get some blood tests. Whoa! How's that for regenerative braking, pulling me down to nearly a dead stop? It's going to save a lot of brake pads, but it will take some getting used to. See, sometimes I use the horn, not quite aggressively. So, there you go, and now you know. I think the Americans are in a hopeless bloody mess. I don't know how they're going to organise themselves. Apparently the Federal Communications Commission was talking about getting rid of CBS's licence because they say nasty things about the Trump. Regenerative braking. Man, it's savage. I am going to be a naughty little boy and park in the no parking zone, perhaps. Maybe. Maybe I shouldn't do that. Might get in the poo. Jesus, that's savage. 24 minutes. Average speed 39. Max speed 46. 15 kilometres. So, very much like the times and speeds I used to achieve when I was first riding. And I was trying to stick to 45 by hand all the time. Oh well, as I said, at least it's not a garden ornament. It goes. Yeah, not much of a Trumpocalypse Chronicle, but best I could come up with, and I got to get in there before they shut the pathology lab. Warbles on a lot to YouTube. Ciao.